In this episode of Film Stock Reviews, I'm reviewing Pinocchio. Pinocchio is directed by Robert Zemeckis and stars Tom Hanks as Geppetto, and this is a remake or a live-action remake of the movie of the same name, which was the animated version from 1940. Now, the 1940 version is my favorite Disney movie of all time. Now, in that film, Dick Jones played the voice of Pinocchio, and Cliff Edwards was Jiminy Cricket, and Christian Rubb was Geppetto. Now, there are a lot of interesting aspects about this new live-action remake. Disney is known for remaking their animated films into live action. This Pinocchio came out on September 8th, 2022 on Disney Plus. Runs for 105 minutes long, and it's really, really interesting. Tom Hanks' Geppetto is different than what you would think. He more so has a backstory in this live action version than what the Geppetto had in the animated version. Now, with this, we find out why he created Pinocchio in this movie. There's an aspect in that he has a really, really sad backstory. He is a clockmaker, and we see an Easter egg to Woody of Toy Story, which is really fun because we know Tom Hanks played that character. Not only that, the Blue Fairy, which is really prominent in the animated version from 1940, only makes an appearance in this live-action version one time. Cynthia Erivo is a phenomenal actress, but I wanted more of her, especially with the scenes that happened in the animated version. Now, of course, we know the acclaimed character that really put, and moved the story along of Pinocchio was Jiminy Cricket. And in this live action version, Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays Jiminy Cricket. Joseph Gordon-Levitt really, really made this character his own in a way. Not only that, he kind of reminisced about Cliff Edwards in a way. Like, he embodied that. And is kind of Pinocchio's conscience in a way, where, When You Wish Upon a Star is sung in this, but the interesting thing is that the animation for Jiminy Cricket in this is kind of almost close to the animated version from 1940, which is good. Pinocchio, exactly the same from the 1940 version, which I loved. CGI was very different at times and very, you could actually mistake certain things for that reason. There are instances where I did enjoy parts of this live action version, and there are parts where I didn't. Like when they're trekking across the ocean and they go against Monstro. Like, we know how that ending is in the animated version, but it took a different turn in this live action version. I feel like the live action version kind of upped the ante a little bit, and with the introduction of a new character called Sophia the Seagull, voiced by Lorraine Bracco, was really good, but I feel like it really didn't need that aspect to it. Like, their live action films have become more so of interjecting new characters that we don't need at all. Just stick to the original source material of your animated films and it would have been great. Now, not only that, we get to see Pinocchio actually who goes to school for a little bit, not a lot. Seeing that aspect of it was different. And then the big aspect is where we see Pleasure Island in all its glory. In the animated version, I mean, if you watch it, it's a very, very dark moment in the film, especially for a good half hour to 40 minutes, I want to say. Just Pinocchio, trying to be on his own and everything. But Pleasure Island in the live action version, I felt like wasn't as scary or creepy as it was in the animated version. I mean, it's 1940. I mean, you know how the animations were in 1940 with creepiness and scary. Like, just one little pencil flick of the art, and then you come up with something creepy. Pinocchio didn't feel like he fit in Pleasure Island in this one. It was different, and the aspect of how not knowing what's going on, and then we get introduced to Pinocchio's new friend, Fabiana, who is an entire new character in this live action film, who wasn't in the animated version. Now, I do want to say it was okay, but in a way, it felt like the live action version kind of gave Pinocchio a love interest in a way, but not really. And the whole aspect of that was different. And there are certain aspects where he's on Pleasure Island that he starts singing. We understand the songs and the music. This is not much full force of music like the original animated version. Like I said in the beginning of this review, I love Pinocchio. It's one of my favorites. And seeing them do certain things with this live action movie was good, but then I felt like they had to change it because if it was just the animated version in live action, people would have complained about it. Because people, for some ungodly reason, complain about Disney remaking their animated films into live action. There are still so many live action films to come from their animated movies. And, the list goes on and on. You still have to make certain ones, even though others have been done. And, give or take a little push here and there. This aspect of this story was good. I did love seeing how Pinocchio was done. Uh, it was so good. It was so perfect. Like, seeing the live action version of it, comparing it to the animated version, was so good. I was literally tears in my eyes, because just seeing that aspect of going from the animated version to the live action version was really, really fun. But like I said, there are some instances where it's like, could they have picked a different actor to play Geppetto? I understand, like, people are saying, oh, is the Lion King live action remake still a live action, even though it's all CGI characters? There are some CGI characters in this. Maybe I want to say 49%, while the other 51% is all human actors. Tom Hanks does a great job as Geppetto, but I feel like he just didn't fit that mold really well. Now, the ending, really different and open-ended, because we understand the animated version where we see Pinocchio turn into a real boy. It's like, hey, I'm a real boy. He does all of that and starts dancing around, and the whole aspect, even that scene where he's dancing around, the mannerisms, like, they picked it up perfectly. But with this ending, it's your own interpretation. And Jiminy Cricket says that in a different way. He says in a way where, if I quote, like, he may or may not become a real boy, with the only thing that really matters being that he's real in his heart. That pulls at your heartstrings. Absolutely. Did I like the ending? Yes, because it gives you, like I said, a different interpretation of what the audience can see and if he did turn into a boy. Because we do see slightly some change happening while the movie's ending. And then Jiminy Cricket gives that narration or that voiceover. We know he's the narrator and he's that conscience to Pinocchio. But it's very different than what you think it could be. Critics gave this movie negative reviews because it didn't have that charm or feel of the original 1940 version. Okay, almost 80 years later, we get a live action version. Holy shnikes, like, okay, we understand that, but Robert Zemeckis directing a Pinocchio movie that stars Tom Hanks, you think it's going to be good, and it was good. Certain parts of it. If I wanted more of the Blue Fairy, I wanted less of the Pleasure Island aspect, because I feel like that also was the different part of this film, where as you're watching it, you're like, okay, we've seen this in the animated version. How can they change this? Well, they did that in a different way and form and factor. I enjoyed the movie, but like I said, different things could have been done differently. Even if you made this a actual remake of the 1940 animated film, okay, fine. I would not have said, okay, this is another great movie. It stayed true to the original. Well, of course, we have to give a little tweak here and there. And when the screenplay is by Robert Zemeckis himself and Chris Weitz, they did put their own spin on it, as you can see, and it's great. I curious to see how this is done differently with their live action films moving forward, because this is a musical as well. All of the Disney animated movies, up until a certain point, are musicals. Or maybe you could say all of them are musicals, give or take a few. Then they put them into live action. Okay. I want to say that Benjamin Evan Ainsworth as Pinocchio really captured the essence and the voice of Pinocchio. It actually sounded like the Pinocchio from the 1940 film, voiced by Dick Jones. which is absolutely amazing. And it's insane. Like, they picked the actors perfectly for the voiceover, and they even picked the actors perfectly for the live action cast. But like I said, Cynthia Erivo, don't just put her in one or a few scenes and that's it. She's supposed to be really prominent in the entire movie, which in the 1940 version she was, but in this version she wasn't. For me, Pinocchio, the 2022 Disney live-action remake of the 1940 version of the same name, gets 3 out of 5 stars. So let me know in the comment section below what you thought about Pinocchio. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you think of it? Did you like this live-action version better than the 1940 animated version? Or do you like the 1940 animated version better than this 2022 live-action version? And who do you think stood out in this movie? And do you think the voice actors were perfectly cast in their roles? And do you think Joseph Gordon-Levitt did a great job as Jiminy Cricket? And did you like Tom Hanks as Geppetto? And did you want more of Cynthia Erivo as the Blue Fairy? And what would you have put in more of or taken out of in this live-action version? Let me know in the comment section below about all of the questions I just asked about Pinocchio, the 2022 live action remake. And I'll see you all in the next review video, and thank you for tuning in.